You know, in the summer of 2019, I remember President Trump being talking about purchasing Greenland. And back then, I kind of took it as a joke. I didn't take it as 100% being serious. I just always thought it was just one of those things that he was prone to have every now and again back in the day. He only had so many more months left before the election. There was a possibility he may not be president that in 2020, which obviously he was not. And so I just didn't really take it as serious. But now, as far as I can tell, no one's taking this as a joke anymore. Not the New York Times, not European leaders, not our military, and neither should you be taking this as a joke. And forcing the sale of Greenland or invading Greenland seems to all really be on the table now. Let me finish grinding these beans up because I think my mic's picking it up. So, in the last 48 hours, I believe that the seriousness by which the president talks about the acquisition, whether by purchase or by force, of Greenland is more of a real thing than it ever has been before. And folks should not take him as playing around. And then, first, it came with Monday's announcement by a very just influential chief staffer there in the White House, Stephen Miller, who was just basically beating his chest about us, the Western Hemisphere, we're a superpower, and we can take your lunch, is basically how I took that from him. And he's saying that even in military invasion, we're on the table. Quote, not going to fight the United States over Greenland, Stephen Miller said, one of his top advisors. He said that on CNN Jake Tapper's show. And this is just making me think, like, as I continue to always build on my prep, build on things that I need from other countries, assets that we get from Asia, Taiwan, China, or from Europe, I don't know if I need to like make sure I have that stuff on stock, on deck, just whether it's bags or goods or whatever, because our relationships could change quite a bit with a lot of these places. And I'm thinking this could be another one of those instances. Now, that was all kind of like reaffirmed by the White House press secretary, Caroline Leavitt, when she stated that President Trump has made it well known that acquiring Greenland is a national security priority of the United States. And it's vital to deter our adversaries in the Arctic region. The president and his team are discussing a range of options to pursue this important foreign policy goal. And of course, utilizing the U.S. military is always an option at the commander-in-chief's disposal. Here is the crazy thing, is because of a pact that we made with the Kingdom of Denmark, who governs Greenland, we have a military base there, and we can plus the size of that base up damn near as big as we want it to be. So I started getting a little bit confused, like, why do we need to own Greenland when we can have as many troops there as we want? We can build up and pour out into the Arctic. We can have vessels there. We could do whatever. And I do think national security is an important thing, but 30,000 people live there. I mean, we could have a base of 30,000 troops if we wanted to, plus supporting staff. It's about that rare earth mineral, baby. It's about expanding his legacy, but it's about those rare earth minerals. And as you remember from geography when you were a lad, remember that Greenland was mostly ice and Iceland was mostly green. But because of the changes in the globe, Greenland's thawing out a little bit. Some of those rare earth minerals are becoming a little bit more mineable, a little bit more accessible. And listen, although you saw the actions that the USA just conducted in Venezuela, we all have to admit that that was technology of the 19th and 20th century. Here in the 21st century, the technology of tomorrow is silicon, semiconductors, all that stuff. And one of the biggest producers of that right now is Taiwan. But unexplored, uncultivated, and untapped lands like Greenland might have even more resources that we could use for tomorrow's technology. I think that's where this starts and ends. I don't think that there's anything like you need to overly complicate yourself with, because I think it's that simple. We're gonna do a pour over, 15 grams of dry coffee, 240 grams of wet coffee out, a little bit of stir in between, if you know what I mean. So the thing is I think that it's that simple. I think that there is a probability, a possibility that over the next few years that the administration is not playing around when they say that we're the big dog on campus, and that if we want it, we take it, whether we buy it or we take it with might. Might seems to make right, and I think that the new policy doctrine of the administration is FAFO, fuck around and find out. They call it the Donroe Doctrine. I'm gonna call it the FAFO Doctrine, because I think that this is what y'all have to really think about. This is the way we're going ahead. If we were to use military action in Greenland, we blow up NATO. We're a part of NATO, but the 7 prime ministers that all signed on to a letter condoning any type of aggressive action towards Greenland, all those folks are a part of NATO, including one of President Trump's closest allies, which is the Prime Minister of Italy. They all came out and said they don't agree with even the rhetoric, the threats of us using military might to take Greenland. And the thing is that if we were to attack Greenland by the charter of NATO, technically, if you attack one, all of them get to retaliate against you. And that could directly put us at odds with all of NATO if we were to use our might against them. Now, listen, we all know that President Trump is no fan of NATO. In 2016, he said that this organization, NATO referring to, NATO is costing us a fortune. And yes, we're protecting Europe with NATO, but we're spending a lot of money. Now, the way NATO works is you, the country, pinky promise to spend a certain amount of your gross domestic product, 2%, 3%, towards your own military. And so that you're promising that if and when an attack were to happen, if you had to join that fight, you would have enough military support to be able to join that fight and actually contribute in a meaningful way. So when the president says that it's costing us a lot, I don't really know what that means per se, because we spend a lot on our military anyway. But I think what he's saying by that is that we're sticking by that, others aren't doing it, et cetera, et cetera. But you don't actually put money into NATO per se, except for like maintaining some of the buildings or whatever. But these would be like unprecedented actions if we were to do that. Now, to be clear, I don't necessarily have a dog in this fight. I think that I don't know, or I don't think we should invade Greenland. If we were to buy it, then it is what it is. I don't even know if we should buy Greenland, because I think we're already pretty deep in debt, and to buy Greenland would mean you're taking our taxpayer dollars and you're purchasing Greenland. Now, let me reiterate that, bring you in closer. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's not going to happen, okay? There is a good chance that we could be seeing ourselves doing stuff with Greenland, with Venezuela, with Cuba, with Mexico, and maybe Iran as well, because we see protesters getting killed in some of the stuff that's going on in Iran. And so there's so much going on all over the place that I'm starting to think that there is a possibility that we're going to see ourselves in military confrontations throughout the world. And the next one could be Greenland. I don't want you guys to take him non-serious when he mentions that. But since we're talking about other countries in the Western Hemisphere, and I will loop in Iran as well, I think that it is a higher than 0% chance that we take some type of action against Colombia or Cuba, maybe not Mexico. Those countries, dictators or leadership, whether the far left leadership down there in Colombia or the regime that's in Cuba, all have condemned Trump, etc., etc. But here's one thing that I don't think that we necessarily calculate all the time. The fastest way, the most like brain smart way to get your population to coalesce around you when they weren't necessarily behind you before is to be attacked. The president of Colombia is running for re-election, I think later this year, early next year. If we were to attack him, the country would coalesce around him. there is a chance that us extracting Maduro from Venezuela, the country could coalesce and actually stand behind the new interim president. And especially if we continue a blockade of an economical blockade where they're no longer to do any type of exports of oil, and that begins to affect their economy and it begins to influence humanitarian efforts. But it could literally go the opposite direction that we want it to. Same thing with Greenland. The threat or the thought of someone of the Danes. The Danes are thinking, what do people in Greenland call themselves? Danes, I guess, because you're governed by Denmark. Are you also Danes? But the thing is that even if you are in Greenland and you're thinking like, is this a possibility that I'm going to have to worry about now being under President Trump? Like, what happens if we do purchase or have Greenland under our control? Those 30,000 people, are they automatically American citizens? Can I start going to kick it in Greenland? I don't know. I think that this goes about legacy for President Trump. I do think that national security is a thing, but a lot of people would argue that if this is about national security, why don't you just plus up the base that already exists in that area? And we already have a pact. And basically we can call up the Danes and say, hey, we want to put more troops, or we want to expand our base in Greenland. And they may not like it, but they would let us do it. I do think it goes beyond simply the national security aspect. I think we want those rare earth minerals. And it's going to be similar to how the rhetoric started in Venezuela. First, it was about the drugs. Then once we got up in there, it's all about that oil. I don't even think I've heard them mention drugs since they arrested the president of Venezuela. I think it's going to be similar for Greenland. I think the rhetoric would start as national security, national security, national security. And if we either bought it or we took it over militarily, God forbid, I would just don't want my brethren to have to do that. And also think about, I'll tell you a personal note as well, but as soon as we got in there, it's going to be about these rare earth minerals. This is what we need. Our country needs this stuff. Now, the personal aspect that I talk about is, I got a 17-year-old. I have a soon to be 11-year-old. These are young children or an older child who are all of military age almost, and they could be joining these United States military, whether it's the Marine Corps. I hope not the Marine Corps. I love my Marines, but it tears your body up. Or the Air Force, smartest choice, or Space Force, and they could be going into some of these fights. I don't necessarily know if I want my children having to literally fight in countries like Greenland, which are normally our allies. So I hope that this can be figured out civilly. And I've learned my lesson over the last 10 years since President Trump has been in politics, since he stepped into the scene in 2015 when he announced his run for presidency. Don't take him lightly. Don't think he would never do something. Don't think he's playing around when he says some shit. So if you think that he won't take, that this is not a serious thing, you are missing the forest for the trees, my sir. Comment down below. What do you think? Should we take Greenland? Is it our next target? Should we shoot them up? Bang, bang. What about the rest of the countries in the Western Hemisphere? Are we going to be going out to Belize next? Panama, are you in my sights? Costa Rica, we need you. I don't know, man. It might be some things that goes down. You know what? All the Western Hemisphere might just become the United States of America. I don't know. It could happen. It could happen. First time stopping by, hit the subscribe button. I would love to have you part of the battalion. If this is not your first time stopping by, well, thank you once again for watching me run my grape. For everyone else, we'll speak soon.